Okay, hello and welcome to our very first podcast of The Middle Order. I'm joined by two special guests of mine, Khizar Ali, say hello, and Ijaz.
Hello.
Thank you, thanks for joining us. Well, we're going to preview the Pakistan-South Africa Test match that's going to kick off tomorrow morning in Karachi. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the recent cricket that we've been watching over the winter. Firstly, let's head off to Australia, where we've seen probably one of the most historically significant results in the last few years of Test cricket, where India won the Test match 2-1. How do you guys rank this series compared to some of the past series that we've had, maybe in the past 3-4 years? Probably up there with one of the better series that we've had.
Well, to be honest, it was a great series for a range of different reasons. Everyone expected Australia to turn up on their home turf with their strong men back and Steve Smith, Dave Warner, just set about the Indians. And it looked like from the first test after India got bowled out, but flipping heck, they showed some bottle and character. I think what helped them out was they had maybe less pressure on them when goalie went and they lost that first game. So they had nothing to lose, but even then they pulled it together and made it a competitive and compelling series.
I think the best thing about the series was India getting bowled out for 36 while Kohli was still there. That was the best thing that happened. Brilliant from the guys that turned up. The B team beat Australia. Wasn't expected, but you could talk about Australia's now saying about the bowlers were kind of overworked. That you could see on the last day when they were trying to bowl India out. India chasing that down. They could have. You look at England now with the rotation of the pacers and stuff, and I don't know. I think if somebody's in form, you got to play them. But Stark was way out of form, and that cost them. I like the difference in captaincy between after Kohli left. You don't have an in-your-face arsehole type of captain.
Well, we'll talk about the captain in a moment. So first of all, was it that India played really well, or was it that Australia were really poor?
I think in India, especially that last test, they performed well above what was expected. And you can argue that the Aussies were, they were tired or they had people out of form, but nobody expected India to win. I think I remember Waqas saying India aren't going to win this when that test match started, when people were talking about these new guys. Nobody expected them to win. But yeah, it was that they definitely performed.
And I know, Ijaz, you're very much of the opinion that the tiredness impacted the bowlers probably more than anything else, and the fact that they potentially had more pressure on five than the Indian batsmen did.
Yeah, definitely had a factor. I mean, don't mean to take anything away from the Indians, but nobody expected India to win, and unless Australia not only beat them but beat them comfortably, given the lineup India put out, it was all basically on Aussies to go out there, perform, take the series, and nothing less than that would do. I think that definitely took its toll. I think if Australia wanted to, they could have seen out the draw, and they didn't need to necessarily force it.
Right. So if you guys had to pick a player of the from an Indian perspective, who do you think it should be?
Well, there was not many that played all the games. Nope. From India's point of view, there was hardly anyone that played all the games. So you could say it was a big thing once Kohli left for a new captain to come in and take on that responsibility. But you could also say he had nothing to lose, but I think he did really well with what he had.
Ijaz,
I think the captaincy
of the series was
what the player of the series for India, I would say Pujara on the batting front, hands down. He was a glue that held them together and allowed with other guys to play their attacking cricket, kept them in it. And you need to be in it to win it at the end of the day.
What about his run rate? But there was a lot of people complaining at the pace of his
There
batting.
was, I think, from a viewing perspective, it's not pretty to watch.
Yeah, but you got to win the games,
but
and you
for
need a player like that.
That's
Yeah, and
true.
it's clearly proved effective.
Absolutely.
Batted number of hours. He made sure that the bowlers were tired before he got out, and he drew them down. And as you say, he let other people play their game.
Played in the Pakistan team, I think that would add a lot of pressure to our team. But India, on the other hand, they've got the superstars to be able to.
I'm not saying
ride
it's the
that
same level.
and get
I'm
together.
not saying it's the same level, but we've got a guy in Azhar Ali who has played that role for a number of years, and he gets stick of everybody when he absorbs pressure. And sometimes the thing is, you go out, you're going to absorb a lot of pressure and then get out, and people are going to be like, well, what the hell was the point of that? You just wasted all that time. The run rate's to shit, and we're nowhere in the game.
I think part of it, as Ijaz says, Pujara's got batsmen around him who are able to score quickly.
Yeah.
Or not even on a normal day. Maybe back then, yeah, they do have some of those, but maybe not as consistently as the others.
Not at that level. But what I think is every team needs a player like that, because even if that guy's job is only to come out and bat out time on day 5, and he gets you that draw, then he's done what he needed to do.
So just very quickly to touch upon the captaincy, obviously Virat Kohli had to leave after the first test, after they got absolutely annihilated, and there were 36 all out. Do you think the fact that he's so intense, and as you pointed out, he can sometimes be a bit of a dickhead, a bit of an arsehole, do you think it actually helped the Indian team to come back from a deficit? Do you think the pressure would have been too much on the individuals had Kohli been there, or do you think he would have let a match under them and he would have got them going regardless?
I think he's a top player, no doubt, but I don't know if his style, it might suit T20, it might even suit ODIs, maybe not so much, but in a test match, he might not. If he had that young group of players, how many people made their debuts or were playing like a couple of games, and how would they have responded to a Kohli style captain in that situation?
I mean, I would categorically say that if Kohli was the captain and they were 1-0 down, they wouldn't have won the series, as Khizar says.
So you're saying he's a shake captain?
Bringing in newbies.
Are you saying he's a shake captain?
I think he's done well. I think he's done well, but Rahani's proved that he's a cup. He was tested in the deepest of waters, came up trumps, and if India don't make him captain now,
they can't make him captain. People
it'd be very difficult for them to change the captaincy just because of this. Even though I think they should, and I think Rahani has a better attitude on the field than Kohli does, and I think that certainly helps his team.
I think they've got a better option in ODI as well than Kohli.
And to be fair, unburdened, Kohli would probably add 10 to his average. He wouldn't. It depends on how you look at it.
Tendulkar became captain, didn't work for him. But Kohli, I think, when he became captain, his personal performances were better, for sure. So maybe it works for him, but it might not be the best for India.
I think Kohli's done well, but there's guys out there who could do an even better job.
Rohit Sharma for ODI.
Yeah, well, we're pretty certain that there's not going to be any change anytime soon on the India front. They are playing England very soon. England, who are just coming off the back of another whitewash of Sri Lanka, something that maybe 10 years ago we would have thought unthinkable, that they would go to a
never would have happened.
Spinning place with Herath playing Muralitharan before him. And to be fair, even though the ball has spun a lot and Embal Denia has played superbly well, somehow England have managed to now win 5 in Sri Lanka.
I think this is the best prep England could have had going into a series against India. And for India, it's the best prep playing Australia before this, so it should be a brilliant series. And I hope Root's form continues. But then there's this bullshit about them dropping or rotating certain players, and they've got it. Yeah, that makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense.
And again,
you can understand it with
there's no chance that would happen in an Ashes series. They wouldn't be rotating people in and out of a Test series. So I'm surprised they're doing it here.
They did it. Who was it last summer when it was Broad and Anderson getting rotated around and they both got pissed off?
You can understand with them too because of their age.
Yeah.
But your batsman,
I think with the batsman you got to play him when he's in form. With the quick bowlers, definitely the rotation works, especially in places like India and Sri Lanka, because it's going to be, really taxing on all of the bowlers. So rotating the quick bowlers round, and it also means that they come back they need to prove a point. So yeah, I think that that the bowlers it'll work for, but I don't agree with the batsmen getting rotated about.
Yep.
Especially if they're better players to spin. And, you're going to have Ashwin back, and he's another prick, but he's a quality player, and especially at home.
Anyway, back to Sri Lanka and England. Just very quickly, Joe Root, he cemented his place back in amongst the top 4 or 5 batsmen in Test cricket.
He went through a long period of, we're talking about his average. He's got a great average, but there's a lot of players that'll get 50s, and if you're going to be in that bracket, you need to be scoring big hundreds like you did now, and those hundreds bringing you the results and the wins. So yeah, he's up there, but then we can't judge him on the back of just these 2 games. I think this series, add on the India series, if he performs consistently like the likes of a Williamson would, then yeah, definitely.
And he's played spin remarkably well, Ijaz, this series.
I think the key to watching his, or even the success, has been his willingness to sweep. I think that's a great asset when the ball's doing all sorts. Not only his conventional sweep, but his reverse sweep.
Even the conventional sweep, the sweep, he was doing a full-on sweep, but the paddles and stuff, it meant that they had to change their length and their lines because of that one shot.
It's a very attacking shot.
Yeah.
Yep. So England have had 2 excellent Test matches. I would just point out that without Root's runs, without Anderson, taking all those wickets in the first innings, those 2 games could have been quite different. And maybe not, because Sri Lanka batted woefully in 2 of their 4 innings. I mean, the batting that they have got just now, it's probably as weak as they've ever had, weak as it is in international cricket just now. Any chance of any major wins coming Sri Lanka's way anytime soon?
No chance.
Okay, so let's move on to tomorrow's Test match, Pakistan versus South Africa. It's the first time South Africa have toured Pakistan since 2007. Looking back at all the records, it's probably a fixture that's actually not been that common. They've only played 25, 26 times in the Test arena. And Pakistan have never yet beat South Africa in a Test series. They've drawn a few, but they've not yet beat South Africa either at home or away. Firstly, obviously, we've had Bangladesh and Sri Lanka come over the last couple of years, but this is really the first proper opposition, wouldn't you say? Test cricket is returning back to Pakistan properly with a bang tomorrow.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the South Africans were right up there when there was that World 11 team that came, which was, there was a lot of South Africans, and, it's a big deal, us getting cricket back at home with a proper team. And you've got to give it to South Africa for stepping up and coming to play.
So, Ijaz, what does it mean to have Test cricket back in Pakistan for you? It's probably been a long time since you've sat and watched a full Test match game that you probably will be doing over the next few days.
I mean, the last one I remember now, it's probably been one after that, was when England came and Shoaib Akhtar and Ganeria ran through them. But it's a sense of pride, I think. Getting to see our players play in their own backyard, and hopefully it should bring a positive impact to their performance. A chance for some of our stars, Babar Azam, Shaheen Shah Afridi, to feel the love of their own fans for the first time I know they get a lot of support in England, Australia, but home is home. They'll want to put on a show, and hopefully they're able to rise to it, because I hope the whole country is watching and they can do them proud.
I think it's a bit sad we're not going to have people in the ground. You know, cricket's coming back, and because of COVID, there's not going to be anyone there. But I think just the guys being able to play at home will make a big difference.
An empty-ish stadium is pretty reminiscent of Pakistani cricket, and actually that'll bring back its own nostalgia. Watching these guys play with, you know, very few people watching, it's not, you know, that is what Pakistan cricket was before maybe it left. It seems like ages ago that Babar Azam was announced like captain of the Pakistan team, but tomorrow's actually his first Test captaincy debut for Pakistan. He obviously missed the New Zealand series. So, you know, what do you think are the benefits of having Babar Azam as Pakistan captain?
I think he can lead from the front with his runs. I think we're going to have to be patient with his captaincy. But in terms of his batting performance, I think we've come to expect him to score. So we do expect a match-winning performance, hopefully, in one of the two tests, because we're going to need him to step up. No doubt he can do it. We just want him to hopefully win a game now in Pakistan and set the tone, really. There's probably other better choices for captain. I don't think he's quite ready, but we are in a transition. So as long as the fans are quite patient, there's a good chance South Africa might turn up, cause a bit of an upset, but we just need to stick with it. And in terms of the squad itself, we've got a range of different age groups. So in some cases, it's a stopgap. Again, we just need to be quite patient with it, because it's not going to magically turn into a great team. It might take a bit of time this time round.
As far as the captaincy is concerned, I was worried, because he's easily the best batsman we've got, and potentially, you know, he's young in his Test career, but we're talking about him as the best batsman we've ever had, potentially, if he, you know, career pans out the way it's going to. And now we've put captaincy on his shoulders. I wasn't keen. I'm not saying he shouldn't be captain, but I'm not sure if he should have been captain yet. And now we've got the added pressure, because you've got Misbah being sidelined, and the Mohammad Wasim, the new Pakistan selector, with his fucking pie charts and graphs and all that stuff that he came out with, telling us that
was pretty good stuff. I enjoyed that.
It was good, because I mean, you know, he's putting it out there, giving you reasons for why he did what he did, but then you're also saying, well, now it's not going to be Misbah picking the 11. Babar Azam's going to pick the team. So I'm sure that was a lot to do with, came from Babar as well, saying, look, if I'm going to be captain, then I want to take the players I want onto the field. So my worry is having that burden of captaincy on him. No doubt, as a player, you know, we go back to when South Africa played Pakistan last, and you had, you know, him playing Dale Steyn like he was absolutely nothing. And you know, took him apart, and it was so classy. It was, you know, through the covers, down the ground, everything thrown at him, he just took it on. And the team that they've got now with Rabada and that, what's that new guy called, Anrich something,
Nortia or something.
Yeah, great. Again, two really good bowlers. South Africa have said that we're going to play two spinners. You know, Boucher said we're going to play two spinners. We're going to play two spinners as well. And people keep thinking, oh, it's going to turn a mile. Karachi doesn't. I mean, it does turn, but it's not like it's been in Sri Lanka or anything. So it means that, it means that they must either be preparing a turning wicket and backing on the likes of Yasir Shah or whatever to come up. But then you've got this young captain that, you know, has got a lot of pressure on him. Home series, big team, you know, picking his own team going into it. So I just hope that doesn't take away from his batting. And I hope the likes of Azhar Ali, who are there, give him the support he needs. You know, there's not massive experience in this Pakistan team. You know, Azhar Ali is it really. You've got Abid Ali and potentially a new opener. There's no Asad Shafiq, there's no Safraz.
So let's
And
just
the bowlers
actually
are,
let's just look at the squad. We've got the squad here. 17-player squad. They originally started off with 20. They've actually taken out some of the youngsters that were initially as part of the squad. I've got to say, I've obviously not seen very much of them play. All had actually outstanding records this year, past couple of years in first-class cricket. But I mean, if we look at the openers first, the first notable thing that you see is that Shan Masood is no longer within the squad.
Yep.
Last year, Ijaz is very happy that he's been taken out. Why, Ijaz? Just simply based on performance?
Performance, his first class record. I think he's been given more than enough opportunities, and there's got to be better players performance-wise out there in the first class circuit. So it's about time someone else gets the chance.
I think we can't argue with the fact that people are always saying, like what you just said, Ijaz, there's got to be better people. So you've got a selector who said, right, we're going to look at the record, who's performed, who's in form, and bring him in. What I'm glad is that they've done that during a home series rather than picking a guy from domestic cricket who's done well and sending them to England or Australia and then saying, oh, well,
Setting
why
them
aren't you
up to
scoring
fail.
tons, Exactly. So build on this. We know who's going to be opening the innings. It's going to be Abid Ali, who's got a great domestic record, I know it's only been one series, but he performed well against whatever the opposition was. And you've got this guy Imran Butt coming in, so he's been given a chance instead of Inzi's nephew and Shan Masood and whoever else was there. So I hope everyone now has a little bit of patience. This guy, if he comes on and scores 3 tons in a row, fine. But if he doesn't, then the selector picked him. Yeah, you got to selector picked him because he had the best record out there domestically, and now we've got to make sure we give him a run and don't start giving him abuse when he gets out.
Okay. So if we move on to the middle order, I mean, if we just look at the first 3 names on there, that really should be the strongest middle order that we could probably put out just now, with Azhar Ali, Babar Azam, and Fawad Alam. I know Fawad's just come back in the New Zealand series, but actually proven himself already after that series that he is a worthy middle order batsman for Pakistan.
Yeah, can't wait for him and Babar Azam to be playing together with Beauty and the Beast with that stance he's got.
I think on paper that's a very strong middle order. You've got Azhar Ali, Babar Azam, Fawad Alam. Fawad Alam's got a very good record in Karachi, and as everyone knows, first class cricket, he just dominates it. So it's a very strong core of batsmen there. So pretty confident.
Shakil at some point, again, he's had a very good domestic run. In terms of our all-rounders, Fahim Ashraf, no surprise that he's in the squad. He's had a pretty good run in the Pakistan team. I thought initially when he came on the scene, he was struggling to take wickets and he was making runs, but maybe not a full all-rounder. But actually over the last couple of series, especially in New Zealand, he's actually proved himself to be a top player.
No, I agree. I think I wasn't a huge fan, but I think the way he played in New Zealand with the ball was brilliant. And when he needed to be economical, he was. As a batsman, when he needed to attack, he did as well. But for this Test match, I'm not sure I would pick him, and that's just horses for courses. Because if we're going in with possibly 2 or 3 of the fast bowlers you've got at the end there, I think before we discuss all-rounder, we should discuss who the bowlers are, and see if there is room for an all-rounder, and then is it a spinning all-rounder, is it a seamer that we go with?
Yeah, so let's look at the fast bowlers first. So again, notable absentees, Naseem Shah and Mohammad Abbas, who played in the New Zealand series.
I think I can understand why Abbas has been dropped. Just a 2-match series, so there's not much game time to play around with. You need to be in and out, get that win. It's not on form, so maybe you can go away and get to the nets, whatnot, work with the bowling coach. In terms of Naseem Shah, I'm absolutely gutted for him. I didn't think New Zealand was the right tour for for him personally. I think Pakistan will miss Naseem Shah, not only because of his pace, but I think he's the ideal bowler for reverse swing, and there's nowhere better to bowl reverse swing than in Pakistan and subcontinent pitches. And as the test match goes on, becomes lower, skiddier bounce, and when you put that together with reverse swing, every ball's dangerous. It's on the stumps, and I think when he did play, I think he played last, he took a hat trick. So I was really looking forward to him steaming in at home. I think he's going to be a bit of a miss.
I think with him, I think they did the right thing by leaving him out, because when they took him to New Zealand, he was coming back from injury, and he came back and he bowled in New Zealand, and he was 10 kilometers an hour off. Then he got injured, and I think they took him to New Zealand too soon. He was definitely not fit. He was bowling 10 kilometers an hour less. So he's young. Don't bring him back. You know, we don't want another situation where you got Waqar Yunus who's going to be out at the prime because he's got a stress fracture or something else. When he gets his pace back up, definitely. We've got other options as well. We've got Hussain and you've got Musa and all of this. So if the guy wasn't 100%, don't pick him. As far as Abbas is concerned, Abbas, it's a more slight difference because he was down about 5 kilometers an hour, but that made all the difference. You had guys now standing outside the crease to him, and okay, he was bowling at 1.5, 2 runs and over, but when he was up there as talked about as one of the best test match bowlers only a couple of years ago, it was because he was bowling that line and he was getting the nicks and he was getting the LBWs. Now his pace is slightly less, and the guys are standing out to him. They're still maybe not taking risks and attacking him. And fair enough. I think that's, you know, I'm okay with that decision of him missing out, and I'm okay with Naseem missing out if he's not fit. So
yeah, and let's just talk about who's come in. And so I think we're all pretty excited to see this rebooted version of Hassan Ali, who's had a tremendous run in domestic cricket. So are we in agreement that Hassan Ali and Shaheen Shah Afridi will be leading the line tomorrow?
Yeah, I think they should. But
so, yeah.
my only thing is, you got to remember, Hassan Ali was never an amazing test match bowler. He was an ODI specialist. He was at one time the best ODI bowler in the world. We've got to be careful about, you know, how we look at form across formats, and we do that with lots of players. They come in, this guy's really good, get him in the test team. You know, Hassan Ali's different. He's got first class experience now. He's got his form back, and he's the best option out there. So I just hope he can now eventually translate his form in the test match arena.
Yep. We watched Haris Rauf in a couple of series. I've got to say, I've yet to be impressed by him as a bowler. I've not seen much to get excited about, other than maybe a little bit of pace, but I don't think he's directed it well.
We have to have 3 seam options going into a test match, and they both said they're going to play 2 spinners, which is, you know, whether we go with a left arm spinner or we go with an off spinner, because Yasir Shah you would expect to play out of those 3. So for me, it's either Shaheen, Hassan Ali, Rauf and Fahim with the 2 spinners.
Do you think you really need 2 spinners when you've got such a quality spinner in Yasir Shah at home?
I think they've already said they're going to play 2 spinners. I think both teams have said they're going to play 2 spinners, so that's going to happen. And yeah, if it was the fact that they're at home, and it'll all come down to the toss. You know, if we win the toss, we're going to want to be bowling last in that test match. And that's the same with South Africans, because they're going in with 2 spinners as well. And the decision's going to look shit if you lose the toss and you end up, you know, bowling first, because one guy's not going to be doing anything for the first 3 days.
Yeah, so we're thinking probably between Fahim Ashraf and one of the other 2 fast bowlers for the last spot.
You would say, yeah, Rauf or Fahim, wouldn't you?
What annoyed me was in the past they've picked 2 leg spinners in the same test team. There's no need for that. You need
All right,
to
well,
change
on
it
that,
up.
based on that logic, then you tell me who you're going to pick. You've got Noman Ali, who's a left arm spinner. You've got Sajid Khan, who's an off spinner, but they say that Sajid Khan can bat a bit as well, so he might be a possible all rounder. Who are you going to pick out of those two based on that logic then?
So I would probably go for a bit of variety. I know he's been tried and tested before. I'd go for Nawaz or whoever's the left-hander. I think it's
So it's
the older guy's the left-hand spinner.
Noman Ali, he's a left-arm spinner. But then you've got Noman Ali and Yasir Shah both spinning the ball away from the bat. Would you not rather have an off spinner then? You've got variation because you've got a left-arm spinner who it's all. I mean, if you got a choice, brilliant to have a left-arm option. But then you got Yasir Shah turning the ball away. Okay, he's got his googly. Or you got Sajid Khan, or do you just say, right, we're going to pick the guy who's bowled the best out of these two in the nets, or who's most informed? Or are you going to pick it based on strategy and
I think
which way he's turning the ball?
If Fahim Ashraf plays, then it covers the batting a bit. Then you just pick the best out and out spinner.
And you don't worry about whether it's a left arm spinner or an off spinner.
I would go with a left arm, and I wouldn't bother about if he's bringing it in or out.
So we'll find out very soon, tomorrow morning, as to who's been picked in the squad. I think Pakistan have assembled a pretty decent team to play this first game back in Karachi after a very long time against a decent opposition. Very quickly, if you had to pick one standout player from the South Africa team that Pakistan really need to be aware of, who would you pick? Khizar?
Du Plessis. He's been on Twitter and stuff, and he's got a point to prove because he's at that point in his career. He needs to show that he's performed in all conditions. He himself said that Saeed Ajmal gave him nightmares last time. He's not got the burden of captaincy on him. So for me, it's going to be down to him. They've got good bowlers. They've got decent spinners. Rabada probably up there in terms of world class bowlers that they've got. But for me, it's going to be down to Faf.
Ijaz?
I think probably one of the more understated names, but his form has been really good. Rusey van der Dussen, I think it is, number 3. I think he'll bat. He's been on form for as long as I can remember. Seems the kind of player who will bring out his A game. From
my point of view, I think Nortje has had a really good few games for South Africa. I think he's going to be difficult to handle. Obviously, you've got Rabada and Quinton de Kock as well, who make up that team. It'd be interesting to find out how many of them have played in Pakistan before. I would guess not many at all.
Faf's the only one that I would remember. I don't think. I think it was Boucher was the keeper then. So it's they've probably only got one guy who's been there before.
Yeah, which makes it all the more interesting for a team to go somewhere brand new for them, pretty much. I'm sure they'll be looking forward to the challenge of playing in Pakistan. But gentlemen, our time is up today. Thank you very much. We'll hopefully reassemble in a week's time when we will know the result of the Pakistan-South Africa Test match. We'll do a depth review of that Test match. But here's wishing Pakistan the best. A quick prediction, Khizar, what's going to happen?
Pakistan to win. Yasir Shah gets man of the match.
Ijaz?
I would go with the same. I think Pakistan, they're not as firm favourites as usual, but I think they should still come out on top.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing what happens. Join you all tomorrow morning, bright and early, to see Pakistan versus South Africa. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.